now. Go for it, buddy.
My name is Patrick Downs. I am the sales training manager at PandaDoc. I train all of the closers, whether it be new business or existing business, and I have a really weird sense of humor, which you guys will see very soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. My name is Francois Bourdeau. I work for a company called Encore Business Solutions. I am working for a Microsoft reseller. My focus is on ERP and CRM applications. And I also think I have a good sense of humor, but it's not as twisted as Patrick's.
We'll see.
Adam.
My next, perfect. Hey, y'all. Adam Berguem. I work for a company called Crayon. I do demand gen here. We are a Microsoft partner company as well, really focused on helping businesses move to the cloud. And of course, I do demand generation, so I partner closely with our sales team, and as well as running, marketing campaigns and doing like growth experiments. And
awesome.
Yeah.
Ellis.
My name is Ellis Norman. I'm the founder and CEO of Norman Sellers Incorporated. We're a strategic advisory firm, basically help startups scale out SDR and account executive teams here in Austin.
Super. Shari, you're up, man.
I'm up. I feel like maybe I should, not only am I the only woman here, but always sticking out like a sore thumb is my role. I actually don't work for anybody but myself right now, but my history in sales up until very, very recently is I've been a director for big sales teams and business process improvement in the IT space.
Awesome.
Yep.
Beauty. Thanks, everyone. All right, Ray, floor is yours.
Okay, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. I'm Ray with Odoo. I am on the project delivery team, which is a team of one because it's a brand new team. Odoo has traditionally been a small business apps suite, and we have kind of climbed the tail, and we're bumping into larger companies, and we have formed a mid-market corporate team, and that team has 3 or 4 people on it and has some processes that they have created. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be part of that team or whether I'm creating a blueprint for the team that comes after that, which would be the large projects team. So Odoo has completed their first large project, which finished last month, and it meant to us $25,000 a month. Our typical customer is more like $500, $1,000, $2,000 a month. So what I was planning to do today is to just show you 2 slides and ask you what was interesting for each of you on those 2 slides, have a discussion, and the feedback that I would like is probably best done interrupting me and stopping me and asking me questions. Otherwise, if I wait to the end, I'm gonna forget what I was talking about at the time. That's what I would love.
And then I guess, Ray, just really quickly, in this scenario, are we kind of like, are you putting on a persona or a hat of I'm Ray coming in as a BD guy and you guys are prospective clients? Or is this, I want to share something with you guys and want your opinion as the people you are on this call?
This is just a conversation about, I'm from Odoo and you guys have no idea what we do.
Sure.
And there would be elements of this conversation that I would have with anyone. I normally am brought in after a conversation has been had, but it isn't necessarily a good one. So what I find is that I have to kind of restart the conversation because the teams that I work with don't necessarily present the company and the benefits in the way that I think can lead to a more constructive relationship. So perhaps if you can pretend that you have been told by someone to check out Odoo because they have really cool technology and you're interested in learning more.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So we've been around for...
Hey Ray, really quick. I don't know if you're seeing it and is everybody else seeing it, but I see your kind of your Google slide, but I also see the Zoom kind of window with all the participant names. So I can't actually see what you're showing.
Okay, so that's great.
Like I see a little box. Does everybody else see that?
I can see it says differentiators, price, scope, flexibility.
I don't see a box, Frank.
Really? That's just me? Is it? Oh, wait a minute. That's me.
It's probably the emoji.
That's the box on my screen.
Oh, well, that's on you.
Yeah, hold on. Let me get my propeller hat off. There we go. Okay.
Frank's losing it in
Crisis
his old age.
averted.
Yeah. Okay. No, we're good. We're good.
Okay, perfect. So you guys can see the differentiators slide.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I thought we would start by just you guys telling me which ones of these things you would like me to talk about. These are the differentiators of why we are different from other technology companies. And perhaps I can drill down based on what's interesting to you. I don't know what's interesting to you about technology companies.
So, if I can interrupt, technology means so many things to so many people that I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay, so we provide technology for businesses
To do what though?
to do what businesses do, like buy things, sell things, hire employees, write blogs, send people out into the field. Anything that a business does, we have technology that can help them.
So Ray, let me ask you this. When you find you're talking to people at this stage, do you know who you're typically up against?
Sometimes people come to us because they're talking to ERP vendors. So you mentioned the word ERP. We have our roots in the ERP industry. We've kind of reinvented the space a little bit. So sometimes people say, hey, I've talked to NetSuite and I talked to SAP and I want to talk to you guys. More commonly, people come to us because they hear that we are a business apps technology platform. And they're like, can you tell me about your apps? And can you tell me how much your apps are? Those are the two ways that I end up with people talking to me about Odoo.
That was a good question, Francois, because that's what I was asking is, are you an application? Are you a software? Are you an ERP? What's my problem that you are trying to solve? Like, why do I want you?
You want me because your technology is too expensive and too hard and isn't providing enough value and it's not integrated.
Yeah, so
Who are your
I'll
main
just,
competitors?
go ahead, Ellis.
Who are your main competitors?
So I don't think we have key competitors that are identical to us. That's why I have this differentiator slide up. But we compete with people like Zoho, we compete with NetSuite, we compete with SAP, we compete with Microsoft Dynamics, with Salesforce, we compete with Trello. We compete with technology providers that are either doing single apps, or we compete with technology providers that have platforms.
Yeah, I mean, selfishly, I'm, not selfishly, but I'm looking at this from the lens of when I'm typically talking to somebody specifically in the ERP space, hopefully I'm talking to somebody in the C-suite, but often it's a finance person and they have some finance issues. The price one they're interested in, but what I'm also hearing is you're kind of that one platform to rule them all. So you're the ERP with some of these, the Trello type apps, the productivity, the Zoho, is your value prop that you can ultimately replace like 90% of what people are using?
Yes. With one platform that is pre-integrated. And so you don't have those problems of how many versions of the truth do we have in our company? Do I go to sales and ask them what they sold? Do I go talk to the warehouse manager? Do I go talk to my accounts receivables department?
Yeah, so I guess I'm curious. Go ahead, Ellis. Sorry, we keep interrupting each other.
You mentioned that you're often walking into these situations where you're presenting to a prospect that's gotten a bad value prop pitch, right? What is that ICP? Who are you speaking to, typically?
Could you explain the acronym?
What's your ideal client profile? So who are you speaking to in that situation where you'd said earlier that you're walking into like a landmine, basically, right? You had someone previously speak to somebody, they gave the wrong value proposition, you're having to clarify it with these differentiators, right? Who is that? Like, what's their title? Who is that person you're speaking to?
For me, it's usually a company that has a maker CEO. So a CEO with some patents, or a CEO that actually invented the product, or a CEO that cracked into the market. and has looked into open source technology and found us that way, and then has said to someone in his company, you know, can you go look at this? And it could be himself or herself, or it could be their IT department manager. Sometimes it's finance people. More often it's the special projects people or the IT people. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at in the competitive market space, where you threw out a lot of names, but maybe I'm seeing it more in the lens of the world I live in. But you know, when I'm up against NetSuite or SAP or someone else in that space, I mean, we all have good products, but they're often leading with kind of this, you know, how can we make your life easier? You know, kind of, you know, the value, the story selling around, you know, these are the problems we solve for CFOs or for people in the distribution side or on the supply chain side. And right now I'm feeling like that value story is almost, it's like too big. Like you nobody will believe that you can solve everything.
Yeah.
So now you see my challenge.
Go ahead, Adam. You were going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd echo that. I'm just, you know, writing notes, and something that I wrote down. A question I had is, when, you know, you're going into these conversations, you yourself or, you know, someone else, and you say, oh, we can help you with anything you need. Do you find that people are understanding that and they get okay, or are they more hesitant in terms of?
They act exactly like you act. I don't know what you mean when you say you can help me with everything. And I have to say, I can help you with everything that you do. So give me some examples of what you do, and I'll tell you, yes, I can help you with that. Yes, I can help you with that. Yes, I can help you with that. So this is actually perfect. This is exactly the kind of conversation that I have all day, every day with people. When I say, I can help you with everything your business does, and they say, what does that mean? And then we have these conversations where we drill down into, well, for you, that might mean that your invoicing can be completely automated. For you, that might mean that I could have customers visiting your website, signing up for a trial, entering their credit card information, paying their first invoice, and you don't have a human being talking to them. For you, that might mean twice as many leads in your pipeline for your sales team. For you, that might mean that we replace 19 different business systems in your company that don't talk to each other or cost a lot of money to talk to each other, and then you have 14 versions of the truth. So it's about finding out what you do in your business that isn't working.
And do y'all have a certain set of questions or something that's packaged up to where you can make that repeatable and start asking those questions to uncover those pain points?
So I don't work in sales, and our sales team has different conversations that they practice and repeat. And those are the people who fly me to places and say, these people have paid for you to be there to them about what we do. And I've already told them this, and I usually find out that what people have told them prior to my visit is some version of what we do rather than the version that I would tell them what we do. Does that make sense?
Do you think maybe part of the disconnect, Ray, is that have you ever heard the old saying, what do we sell and who do we sell it to?
Have I ever
heard the saying, what do we sell and who do we sell it to?
I have not.
So it basically, the idea is that you need to focus on what you sell and sell that to a specific target audience, right? It's all about specificity and being specific, right? The sales.
So what if I sell everything though?
The salesperson can't sell everything.
Okay.
You really can't, because nobody has pain for everything, right? People have specific pain points that we as salespeople are going to lean into, which are going to be highlighted, right, by the questions that we're going to ask, which is going to focus your frame a little bit. But I'll stop talking too much. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. So it takes me back to, what do you do in your business that isn't working? Like, that's where I try to get to in this conversation is, tell me about your business and tell me what you hate about it. Tell me what isn't working. Tell me what you need help with.
So Ray, I think that, tell me if maybe I am going to be able to close this gap here, because from what I just heard something I think that I know that I missed, and I have worked with solution architects, which is what I think you are more like, a solution architect. Okay, and so I think that when we first got on the call, I know I was assuming you were more in the sales side of things, sales marketing side of things. And so from a sales leadership perspective, this becomes very confusing because we're all looking for a focus, okay?
Okay.
And so what I just heard is, wait, stop. We're all coming at you from a different lens because we're just trying to figure out what the hell you sell, okay?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter because you're coming in after I've sold something, okay? And you're coming in to close the loop is what I'm hearing. So you're more of a solution architect is what they're typically called in my world. So for instance, I would go in and I would say, okay, in order for us to eliminate the number of POs you create, and I'm just making up a story, okay? And we want to eliminate POs, and we want to be able to have eliminate redundancy and automate approvals across the board. So somebody in accounts receivable knows that this was approved by the CFO and to go ahead and pay the invoice, right? And so I'm really good at telling the story, and I can paint. I know how to find my focus because I got in there and I closed a deal to bring you in, or I'm trying to close a deal and I'm bringing you in to build credibility for me. Is that your role?
Yes. But
Okay.
I also just explain what Odoo is so that I can be the person who sends myself as the solution architect. But
Okay.
mostly the latter. You're right. Most of the time I get there, what have you heard? Why am I here?
So from a sales standpoint, and probably I think why most of us are kind of just going, what is going on, right? And like, have you ever heard of this? Or, right? Because I'm just sitting here going, find your focus, find your focus, find your focus. And there's often a disconnect between the sales architect or the solutions architect and the salesperson. And it's a communication gap. And what you are experiencing or what I'm experiencing right now is exactly what we experience at work, okay? Is we're speaking completely different languages and we're not drilling in on what our purpose is and what we want to get out of it. And
Okay.
so if I was, and this is my first time participating in something like this, so, well, with these guys, I do it at work all the time, but with this group, so I'm not really sure if I'm on point or not. I mean, anybody can interrupt me and just, stop me at any point, but what I see here is you, okay, oh, screw it. Okay, I'm trying to be politically and correct and nice, and I just don't always know how. So I
I'm not
see
going
a
to be
clash of,
be offended or upset. You can
right.
just tell me.
Well, I offend people all the time, so it's not my intention, right? But what I see here is probably a clash of egos, and I don't know if ego is the right word. It's just all that's sitting here in my head right now. Is look, I really know this stuff, and so if I'm going to help this customer, I got to make sure the salesperson even told them what was going on. Okay, and so that's the behind the scenes disconnect. Is you're the expert and you're really, really, really the expert, but I think there's maybe a missing of trust to get to this point, and so you're trying to revalidate or re-qualify an opportunity, and it's not really, I'm not in the role, right? But if it were my company, I'd say that's not your job. Your job is to help take them down the path the salesperson set up for you. And then if something doesn't make sense, just take a stop back, ask questions, have a sideline conversation with the salesperson you're working with, and then get back to the customer, because you're not going to be successful. It's going to be frustrating and you're going to bang your head, which is what I hear you're doing, right? Is you're going to keep on banging your head on the wall or on the desk. and everybody's going to feel stupid and like, doesn't anybody really get it? Okay. Cause that's where I'm always coming from. Okay. Can't you just keep up with me? And there's too much. It's just, it's too much. So
Fire
you've got
hose.
to really find your focus.
So Ray, a quick level setting question. Are you finding you're coming into the opportunities and sales is maybe not helping explain, exactly what they should be selling, and you're kind of having to course correct with the client? Or is the purpose of this discussion really for you to go, the salesperson has helped them figure out maybe a focus area that we can bring them in, but now when I come in, it's like they realize there's 18 different things they could do, and I have to help them understand all that. Like, where are you finding that challenge?
It's the second thing. So it's like I show up and, they're like, this is what's in scope and this is what's out of scope, and here's what we want to buy. And by the end of the week, it's like everything's in scope and we want to buy way more. And we need to kind of think about what we want to do, because what we thought about what we want to do based on what we heard was totally different. So at the end of the week that I go in, and we call these engagements gap analysis. So the salesperson sells a gap analysis, and the salesperson says, so I hear you have problems in finance and you want to move different companies that you own all onto the same technology platform. So I'm going to send this guy, Ray, he's going to talk to you. I'm going to quote you for the things that you said are in scope, and I'm going to leave the things that you said are out of scope off the quote. I'm going to quote you for how many people you said you wanted to buy the software for. And then at the end of the week, I hear, you know what, all of these other things need to be in scope, and we want to buy it for everyone in the whole entire company. And now we have to start all over again with like, okay, well then now what do we do? Now that that's what we've decided we want to do, how do we go forward? Does that make sense?
It does. And one thing, Ray, something that one of the places where I sit in my org, because in the US we're pretty small startup as well, is I actually I'm part of some of those conversations that you like, some like customer engagements where I go in and I'm talking about a specific technology stack, and I'm then presenting either a workshop or a webinar or a technical, whatever it is. And similarly to kind of the challenges that you're facing, it's almost a disconnect between communication, because when you get to the customer, they may have different challenges than what was initially uncovered. And so what's helped tremendously for myself at my company is whenever those opportunities are uncovered, I get a sideline conversation with the salesperson. I say, okay, like, let me know what's going on. And if it's not clear before the engagement even happens, I say, okay, perfect. Well, let's get on another call with the customer, with me on there. So that way we can have an initial conversation, set expectations, as well as uncover any other opportunities that potentially the salesperson may have prior. And then on top of that, it's also supporting sales in their messaging and also helping them just get better at doing what you do, just not as technical, right? So, hey, here are some of the questions that I'm going to ask. If you ask these questions, it'll just propel all of these engagements going forward.
Are you brought in at that stage, early stage, right?
Sometimes I am. Sometimes I'm the guy on those calls saying, okay, what are we talking about? What made you come to us? What are you interested in? What are your problems? And they list out some things. And then when I get on site, it gets completely turned upside down.
When you get
are you able to, oh, okay. So are you able to not do everything? Are you able to really focus in and be able to get the sales engagement moving forward and then build upon the things you discover as you're in there? Or is it an all or nothing? Do you have to, if you go in and you say, okay, we just thought we were going to do this, but I see this, and now we have to restart all over again, right? Is it possible that you can actually implement or just attack the one thing that you sort of identified and you were there for, and then build a case for after that's completed to build the rest of it out so that you're not stopping and starting over?
Sometimes it is. Most of the times, it's just realizing that the value that was unlocked in those early calls is just represents a small fraction of the value, and it's a successful problem that I encounter in terms of it's not something that prevents us from moving on. It's just something that blows up into a larger thing, and so now we have to reset everyone's expectations because it's more money, it's more time, it's more value. It's like going from, you know, I want to taste the soup to I want like 7 courses and I want to bring my whole entire family here.
Hey, Ray, quick question. When that happens, do you usually then get a stall out and then the deal cycle lengthens out? Or
Sometimes
or do they get the 7-course meal?
Sometimes on the spot, they're like, we want the 7-course meal and here's the numbers of our family members. Call them right now, get them over here. And then other times it's like, I had no idea what we're getting ourselves into. I want to think about this because this is potentially like very disruptive to our company. And I thought we were just going to like paint one room, but you're talking about like interior design in the whole entire office.
It sounds like the latter situation, and I'm pretty sure everybody else on the call will agree, is just choice overload. It's really what it seems to be, which is just, you know, too many choices. People are less likely to buy the more choices you give them. So, yeah, that's just kind of off the top of my head what it sounds like.
Are you finding when they see that they can do the 7-course meal and bring the family, then they, to Ellis's point, they just kind of go, okay, well, like eventually they may not actually even eat anything.
Well, everybody's got to eat, right? So as long as you can speak to the fact that everybody's got to eat food rather than whether or not they're going to eat soup or a 7-course meal, right? Then it's going to appeal to a much wider set of people when you're in that presentation scenario. Right?
Yeah, my engagements are paid. So people have already paid to eat. They're already eating something. It's just that when they get to the end of the paid engagement, they're like, oh, wow, so this is different. And some people are like, yep, I'm all in, let's go. And then other people are like, I think we just need to think about it because it's like, it's just way different than what we thought it was.
When you're speaking with them prior to actually going on site in this paid engagement to when you're speaking with a customer on site, what is the difference in the, like, who you're speaking to? Are you finding that when you're on site, you have a whole different audience that you'd be benefit from speaking to in the beginning? Or
yes. So what I get in the calls is usually people who are communicating to me on behalf of other people. And what I get on site is the actual people themselves.
And have you had troubles getting the actual people themselves on calls initially?
If we really push, we can get those people, but I think there needs to be a level of trust developed before the person who's interested in reaching out to us is interested in introducing us to their family members.
Yeah, because I just think, you know, when you're going on site and you're meeting with the decision makers or, you know, whomever is saying, oh, well, there's way more here. You know, in my mind, it might be beneficial to get them on the call first. So that way, so that way they can get the most value out of that paid engagement.
Right. Okay.
So is one of the problems you're having that, you know, when you've actually had that meeting now and they kind of go, wow, we can do 18 more things. It like Ellis pointed out, it kind of delays the actual sale now? Or is it that, you know, they go, we didn't realize we could do this, and then your team is scrambling going, we thought this was, you know, a project that was this big and now it's too big and we're like, we don't have capacity. What's the big headache that this causes for you guys?
So when it turns into a bigger project, we don't tend to have we have resources. We just have to recalibrate and maybe bring in additional resources. So it's more about, okay, we need to go get a catering crew and we need to get like additional kitchen capacity. So we just need a little pause before we can start work. And that's usually a problem that we can solve. It's on the second part where we've blown up something into a larger thing. Now, how do we tackle the larger thing? So it's almost like we need to start over.
Mm. And would you say the sales team has the same concern as you?
Well, our sales team has really, 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 really good experience at selling to people who pay $500, $1,000, $3,000 a month. I'm the single person who's involved in these very large projects with some great people who normally sell deal sizes like this with our channel. So they bring our channel partners in and they hand off. So this is a new experiment for Odoo where what if we could do some of this ourselves? What if we kept some of these large projects, the riskier ones, the ones where the customers are demanding, I want to work directly with you, and we're developing those skills. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so would you say like a lot of the sales folks are more used to, I don't want to say smaller, but like almost like point SaaS solutions?
Yeah.
And now you're essentially getting into an enterprise sales cycle with that, you know, you can solve everything. And those guys are still selling kind of those point solutions?
Yeah, so I work more commonly with the team who engages with our channel, and they overhear conversations about enterprise sales, and they hand off enterprise sales to our partners, our channel partners. So we're just still learning like what that conversation is, what that sales cycle looks like, what that implementation plan should be. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're climbing up. We've done the small, we have the medium, and we're kind of pushing up. And I used to work for the channel partners. So I sold $100,000 a year, $250,000 a year projects all the time. So that's why I'm working for Odoo now, because they want to tap into what I was able to do for these large partners. So it's having the rest of the company understand how they can prepare me for that, or what kinds of questions they can ask, so that we can be more useful quickly. We can be more useful more quickly than perhaps we are. Does that make sense?
So are the channel partners better at articulating that kind of broader reach of the product, and not like, do you find when you come in via a channel partner selling versus Odoo directly, there's, you know, the expectation of the client's different?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we literally have, if you're, 50 users or less, direct, and if you're 50 users or more, channel. So it kind of divides people naturally, the smaller fish and the bigger fish. And some of our partners are great, and some of our partners are still learning how to sell to enterprise. And some of our partners are still selling, 51 users instead of maybe 500.
Interesting.
Having worked in the channel and mostly with enterprise personally, there's a really big gap. There's a really big difference between the two. And it sounds like training or even collaborative training might really help you. And honing in your message, because it sounds, mind fart. It sounds to me like, Ray, maybe that's where you're getting stuck up right here, is what's my message to these channel partners? How am I, that's what these differentiators are, is what is it that I want them to focus in on, and what should their message be? Is that where you are right now?
So I'm in the middle between the direct sales and the channel for projects that the channel is less interested in taking on because they're higher risk, or they're more resources, or they're not a good industry fit, or the channel partner wants to like list down 7 million things that the customer wants built, and I just want them to go live in 2 weeks, and I want to build version 1 after they've used it for a couple of months, because we have great out of the box capabilities for 90% of what businesses do. And the traditional model that a lot of the partners take in the channel is the traditional ERP approach. We need to send a team, we need to listen to what you want, we need to spend a couple of months building it, and then we need to implement and go live. Whereas the direct team's success is in, okay, we're going live in 2 weeks, and I'm just going to load in a spreadsheet of data for you. And we've done that for like 16,000 customers.
So it sounds like then what you're trying to do is you want more people taking the out of the box approach, which is I think what Ellis was trying to hone in on earlier, and Adam, and we were saying, you know, what's your focus, right? I think we just found your focus. So your focus is on selling the out of the box solution. So what you want to do then is say, okay, look guys, we don't need to go through this extensive process to get to, you know, we don't have to go through the whole alphabet, okay, to get to our destination. We have a solution that works 80 or 90 or whatever that percentage is. That's your differentiator, man. Right? So your differentiator is the traditional ERP approach is extensive and it's long and it's overwhelming, because it is overwhelming. And the needle often moves, and we expand the number of users or licenses and departments, and we can actually stop the whole process in its tracks as we unroll it. But if we start, or when we start with what our big differentiators, we offer you the experience of a customized ERP solution. If that's, you know, I don't know what it is, but this is, you know, we offer you that, and it doesn't have to be 100% customized. You get the customized feel out of the box, and it simplifies and creates the ability to find the need and implement in a 2-week time period. Okay. And we can do all of that, which saves you on average X, and it doesn't interfere with your IT team, your staff, whatever it is. Okay. And that's our differentiator.
Nice. Okay. Thank you. That's definitely a great perspective.
And then that's a great time for upsell, cross-sell. Right?
Yeah, it's going to help you with that smaller mid-market account too. That's going to move the needle a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have like a fairly big marketplace of tools that then you try and, like Adam was saying, upsell or cross-sell, or is it all kind of like, you know, you can kind of have a la carte, right? So our product can start here, and then you can just keep bundling things on top of it.
Yeah, we have 75 apps that we wrote, and we have 30,000 that our community wrote. So there's not really many things that businesses do that we can't provide a solution for. So, you know, most of the time it's like, well, you know, the quote has 14 apps because all of these other things are out of scope. And then it's like, well, but then at the end of my meeting, all of these things are now in scope.
Yeah. We haven't let you get to your last slide. Is there anything you want to show us on the last slide?
Well, it was just some metrics about who we are, like the way that we measure companies, and the way that we measure the speed of companies, and whether that was interesting for anyone to know about Odoo itself, the company.
Is the open source piece a big reason people come to you?
Yes.
Okay. So Shari, you're saying yes?
Well, so open source, do you know what open source is?
I do.
Okay. So to me, anytime you're working with any kind of a ERP, SAP, whatever, okay, solution, and it's open source, it's nice because, you know, they don't have a wrapper around it, right? Mm-hmm. And so you don't have that wrapper around it. If you decide to change systems down the road, you can still use what you like. And to me, that's a big deal, because we're making decisions today, right? For what we think our business problem is today. And in 3 years, it might change. But we've invested this time in this training, and we don't want to create a whole huge, crazy change management if this one piece changes. And the fact that we have open source architecture will allow us to do that seamlessly down the road. And so it creates, in the customer's mind, it creates some flexibility. They don't feel trapped. That's been my experience.
Yeah. And it's a very powerful way of building software, because the community builds the software, and there's lots of people in the community who want to build software, who just want to tinker around. And so you get a lot of contributions from a lot of people that you know, that don't work for the company.
Yeah.
Those are pretty impressive numbers. I mean, I've heard of the product. The last time I was in San Francisco, I think I saw a big billboard, in fact, but I didn't realize how, you know, that's a pretty good sized customer base. You know, I wouldn't think you guys call yourself a startup anymore.
So our culture is still startup, and we definitely want to keep it nimble and agile and friendly and, you know, crunchy. But I don't think we're a startup from the traditional definition. No.
I mean, 7,000 leads per day. That's
Man, that's sexy right there, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw
Every
that.
one of us would be like,
Adam, is there like some formula in your head going, well, how many of those are like qualified, like good leads?
Honestly, that's the first thing I saw on the page, and I was like, 7,000 leads a day. I want to know how you then, you know, first question was, how are you handling all those leads? You know, what's your qualification?
1,000 implementations per month. I mean, that, I guess if you deduce that number, I mean, there's a good percentage of those leads that are turning into something.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of those leads have expended energy and potentially money to come, you know, drive to a downtown hotel and sit in a room for 3 hours and watch a presentation. I think probably close to half of them are those kinds of leads.
Interesting.
so that means your closing percentage is really high then. If we threw away half of those, okay, that's 3,500, and you're implementing 1,000 out of 3,500. You
Yeah,
have a magic product.
And these are the numbers, I think, from the end of January. Like, we got to 1,000 per month at the end of January.
But you're doing, so help us understand, you're doing SMB and you're kind of moving up market. So you're doing mid-market, and now you're tapping into enterprise. But help me understand, like that SMB, you had mentioned, you know, 500 per month. Some people were paying. Now, you know, you landed a $20,000 per month client. But I mean, are some of these implementations, you know, there's no real team, it's really like a QuickBooks Online kind of, you know, somebody gets a license and there is no services?
Yeah, exactly. People can self-implement. You can start with one person. So these are definitely small businesses. I think the average number of apps is like 5 or 6.
So I'm curious, like where's your client base? Is it, I mean, predominantly in one hemisphere?
200 countries.
And would you say there's growth mostly in one area, or is it pretty flat, like everywhere? Not flat, but you know, it's everywhere. It's the US, it's Canada, it's Asia, Europe.
From what I know, it's pretty much everywhere right now.
And look at that, the market share is 0.1%.
Is everybody here going, well, how can we buy a stock in Odoo?
Yeah.
No shit.
Private company.
Wow.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's a brilliant model. If this is sustainable.
So I have nothing against open source. I would say I'm agnostic, and I've worked in kind of this Microsoft channel for about 10 years. And what's interesting is I remember in the early days, there was the open office, and there was a lot of these open source things that there was a lot of buzz around how these were going to overtake some of these other products out in the market. And I guess what I find interesting is, I mean, if you've got 0.1 market share, right, you still have those 800-pound SAP, Oracle, Microsoft gorillas. So there's still something that in the enterprise is resonating, and obviously they'll, you know, nobody will get all of the customers, but I wonder, have you seen some customers that they're just, you know, open source is not for them, they're not comfortable with it, or you're probably not seeing them?
Yeah, I'm probably not seeing them because because those people are like, well, I want to buy whatever everyone else is buying. I want to buy SAP. I want to buy NetSuite. I want to buy Dynamics. I want to buy Salesforce. Everyone loves Salesforce. Let's just get Salesforce.
Interesting.
So the differentiator in price obviously is tremendous. I mean, I've implemented SAP, I've implemented Salesforce. They're no fun, right?
Right.
They're just no fun. So, but you don't need to have all the customers, right? I mean, none of us would care if we just had 50% of our leads closed and resulted in good money. We'd all be like, holy cow, this is where we want to be, right? I mean, you're going to have 5 people applying for a job today. So
Actually, I have a quick question. Do you guys eat your own dog food on the sales and marketing side? Like you're using your own products?
Everywhere. We built the software to scale our company, and then we decided to sell it to other people to help them scale their companies. So every app that we built, it's because we used it. We have a customization app that we built because we realized that we couldn't customize the software fast enough because we didn't have enough developers. So we created a customization app for our consultants to drag and drop screens and drag and drop reports, and then we made that into an app. So everything that we eat out, but we are the first customer to upgrade to the new version each year.
Interesting. And are you not using anybody else? Like you've got your own mail app, like you're not using Google Mail,
We use Google. People who use Google don't have to have more than one account though. We do have a little chat app called Discuss, which is it's a messaging app. But we do, email, we do integrate with Outlook with Office 365 or Google.
Otherwise, I see CRM, I see sales, I see projects like you were saying, you've got 75 apps, but for most companies, you're saying, okay, we can deal with finance, we can deal with CRM type of, obviously, and where I was talking about eating your own dog food is like on the marketing side, right? I mean, what are you using there? And I'm assuming there's something you built internally as well.
Yeah, so everything that we built internally makes it out into an app within a year. This is only what I have permission to do. So I don't have permission to do anything in finance or marketing. And so
I assume, you're getting 7,000 leads a month. Are you using your own tools to nurture those leads and qualify those leads and assign scoring to those leads and targeting and all that?
Yes, we are. So these are the apps that we have. So in marketing, we have campaign management, we have traditional email marketing, we have text marketing, we have social media marketing, we have event marketing, and the marketing automation around the journeys, like how is the journey going to go? What are we going to touch them with? How are we going to track them? How many people are falling through the cracks at each point? How many people do we have at the end? And because these are integrated, this is joined together with the opportunities, which is joined together with the quotes, which is joined together with the sales. And then at the end of the month, we're like, what was the ROI of that particular marketing idea? And how much revenue did it generate? And how many timesheets were booked against it? And how many pizzas did we have to buy? And how many plane tickets do we have to purchase?
Very cool.
And then you said you do a lot of event marketing too. And you said, is that where most of your...
Yeah, most of our leads come from events.
Got it.
Virtual or physical?
Right now, virtual, but yeah, mostly physical.
And what are the ways that you're driving attendance?
We harvest our existing customer base. We do some advertising. I don't work in marketing, so I don't know exactly how we get people to show up at events.
And then do you know what the conversations look like at the events?
It's usually what's new, because we have a new version every year. So most of the events are about what's new, and some of them drill down into, well, we're going to talk about accounting today, or we're going to talk about project management today, or we're going to talk about CRM today. So they're, from what I understand, they're usually the new version, or they're one of the apps focused, or at least one of the business disciplines.
And are these events with existing customers or potential customers? Okay.
it's a mix, because we have existing customers who want to know what's happening in the new version, and we have existing customers wanting to know whether there's any value in getting more apps. And then we have new customers who've seen billboards and get invited by friends, or just, you know, find out about us and say, that sounds interesting, I'll go look.
Your website's phenomenal. I just looked at it and it really explains everything you do, and it's got free, it says on here, start now, it's free. That's kind of compelling. No
The
wonder
first app is
closing-
free. The first app is free.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, it says no credit card needed, instant access. That's pretty amazing, right? So there's some compelling, you have some pretty big customers named here on the USA site anyway. And, you know, it says exactly what we were saying is, you know, what's your unique value proposition? It's right here on the website, right? And so your value proposition, right, is your differentiator.
It's super easy to see why people get so excited about this and then would be like, whoa, 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 I need to reassess.
Yeah, because
Really
they think, you know, wow, we could get purchasing and finance to finally work together. And then when the balloon gets blown up, they're like, we could literally have everyone in this building all on the same platform. We could have all the information in the entire company all on the same platform. We could have complete transparency in our business. People want to know how that happened at ABC company. They can just go look. They can go look in the pipeline. They can look at the quotes. They can look at the conversations. They can go back and trace the footsteps of whatever was successful in the company and just follow them.
It sounds like it's going to be, or that in that scenario, it's just a matter of keeping them on track and like not letting them get overly excited about it to stay in the frame of making a decision. Follow me?
Yeah.
Because I know as a business owner, I'd sit here and go, oh my God, this looks amazing. Start here. It's going to be a rabbit hole that I'm going to fall into, and that rabbit hole looks like it's fairly deep. But yeah, I'll say that's super impressive.
Okay, I probably have like 3 minutes.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I know you had a time constraint, so I don't have any other questions. I think this was super interesting, and appreciate you jumping on and everybody else jumping on, but I'll open it up to anybody else if they have any other questions.
Ray, was this helpful?
It was totally helpful. Yes. Thank you so much. And I can get an access to this recording, right? Because I didn't write a lot of this down, and I would love to be able to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And again, I can make it public, but if you prefer just to see your own private copy, it's up to you.
I don't think I lied about anything. So I think you can make it public.
Awesome. Okay. Well, if that's it, I mean, appreciate everybody jumping on here. This is, you know, this is what we do every Friday. You know, I would say typically it is more of a salesperson that is pitching, but honestly, it doesn't matter, right? Ray, you know, you had this kind of challenge, and we gave you feedback, and that's what you signed up for, and hopefully it was helpful, and it sounds like it was.
It definitely was. I appreciate you so much, and good luck dealing with that minor, what is it, global pandemic or something?
Haven't heard of it.
Oh, you just turn on the TV. Eventually, they'll mention it.
All right, man. Well, thanks everybody for jumping on, and have a great weekend, everyone.
Guys, pleasure meeting you all.
Cheers.
So nice to meet you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.